Well, Sunday sucked. I don't know how the Saints managed to walk into Atlanta, drop 24 points on the Atlanta Falcons. Their defense held their offense to 0 touchdowns scored. That offense scored 26 points. I'm sorry, I take that back. That Atlanta Falcons team scored 26 points, yet their offense didn't find themselves in the end zone not a single time. Yet the Saints still found a way to lose this one. It starts off rough. Rashid Shaheed, I'm not sure why he's even trying to field that punt, and it's fumbled into the end zone where after it's muffed, the Atlanta Falcons are going to pick it up for not just 6, but an easy 6, a gifted 6. It should have been a tax write-off. It was so much of a donation. And I don't know if it's, and I think that's a big argument I'm seeing in the comment sections is it Rashid Shaheed? Is it the coaching staff? Is it the coaching staff with Dennis Allen? And I'm going to put it, I think it's a little bit on both. But when it comes to discipline and when it comes to, the type of things we're seeing on top of each other year after year since Dennis Allen's been in the building, since I should say Dennis Allen's been head coach, the issues we're seeing compound upon each other is what, like discipline, right? Flags, penalties, missed assignments, or, guys running into each other. I understand it's the players on the field making it happen, but why is Sheed out there fielding a punt? Why don't we have somebody like Mason Tipton out there? Isn't Rashid Shaheed at this point kind of a validated, certified part of this New Orleans Saints offense and this motion-heavy Clint Kubiak scheme? He's been WR2, if not WR1, especially the first couple of weeks. I don't even know why we have them out here fielding punts. Let somebody else in that locker room get an opportunity that's going to maybe have, no complacency. Rashid Shaheed's probably worried about the next drive. He's going to muff that punt. That comes back to discipline. It comes back to, sticking to your assignment. And in my opinion, I don't think it was the right call to have him back there fielding the punt anyway. But even through that, the Saints still managed to find themselves creating turnovers on Kirk Cousins. They still find, decent field position for that offense because the defense, in my opinion, got in Kirk Cousins' face and did what they needed to do to keep their defense off the field. I understand we lost Taysom Hill. He got hurt again, and that's going to do a little bit of numbers to our run game, right? And then we had Alvin Kamara, he came in 19 rush attempts for 77 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. Chris Olave with 8 receptions. He had about 87 yards, I believe it was. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, it's, Chris Olave with 87 yards on 8 receptions. Rashid Shaheed with 8 receptions with 83 yards. And look, Derek Carr went 28 for 36 with no touchdowns. 239 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. But, outside of a few plays where I thought maybe Derek Carr could have probably checked it down, I'm not even going to sit here and blame Derek Carr. I think you could sit here and pull up the film and break it down and find ways where Derek Carr, made mistakes, but he's not a playmaker. He's not going to move the needle like that. And I think that's unfair to put that expectation on him. I think we need Derek Carr, especially with this Clint Kubiak scheme. He comes in, he's a facilitator. He takes care of the football. He makes smart decisions, but, we have to be able to create these opportunities for Derek Carr. Because, look, 28 for 36, 239 passing yards, and with little bit of time to go, right before the Falcons got that game-winning drive, it was Alvin Kamara, right? Great move by Alvin Kamara to get in the end zone, but that was still a Derek Carr-led drive down the field to where if the Falcons don't convert right there, that's a game-winning drive by Derek Carr. And he wasn't perfect. And like I'm saying that, I'll say it till I'm red in the face, and you know me, I'm going to be the first person to call out Derek Carr. He wasn't perfect. Because there was a turnover, there was the interception from Derek Carr, but it was deflected. I think he was trying to throw away. Yeah, you couldn't, once again, you can break it down. You could probably nitpick. He could have threw it out of bounds, or he could have threw it lower or something like that. But look, he threw the ball down, trying to get rid of it. It was batted up. It was picked off. And then, of course, our luck is in Atlanta against the Falcons. We shoved it in their face last year. That's what happens sometimes, right? They catch the ball, intercept it, and take it back for 6. So that, mixed with the Rashid Shaheed muffed punt return, I can't blame this offense really all too much because they got down the field. Taysom Hill had a couple touchdowns, and, there was that 4th down. And I think that goes back to coaching because that could have been what lost us the game last week against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. And I was chatting with Steph while we were at the game, and I said, hell yeah, Dennis Allen's going for this on 4th and 1. I like the energy. I like the aggressiveness. But, Steph had a good point. Hey, look, We just lost Eric McCoy. Taysom Hill's not out there. Why not take the points? That's going to force Philadelphia to go down there and have to, score more points than just 3 at the time, right? This is early in the game. But they go for it, and they don't get it. We find themselves in a similar situation today. And I don't know who the Saints think they are. I don't know if it's because of the first 2 weeks, but I don't know who that Saints offense think they are, going for it on 4th and down consistently like it's Madden. I don't agree with that. The constant aggression, I like it. But we have to be smart. We have to be intentional. We can't just throw shit at the wall trying to make trying to please the fans and hope it works. Clint Kubiak brought out, in my opinion, some okay plays this past week. But I think it's been his worst play calling week since he stepped into the booth, just because at the end of the game, there were some sweeps, and I felt there was not really any traction. There wasn't a lot of traction with these sweeps to Kamara, and I could be wrong, but he kept forcing them. And it was 2 weeks in a row. I just wasn't a big fan of going for it on 4th down, and I wasn't a big fan of the play call on 4th down in which they went for it, because both times it's going to fall short, and both times it very easily could have cost the game. Because if you look at the margin of victory and you look at the game situationals, especially here today, the Saints covered. They lost 2 points, 26-24. They lost by 2 points. So that's 3 points that, they left on the board that could have been the difference of this game. And I can't help but blame that again on this coaching staff, not really understanding time management, not prioritizing points. And I don't know, who do we think we are? Last year, we had one of the worst offenses. I understand we come in here, we're averaging 45 plus a game in the first 2 weeks against defenses that didn't show up. But then we go in, and last week it didn't look great at all. I felt Derek Carr definitely looked a little spotty. And beyond that, Alvin Kamara got banged up today. He played with a broken rib, but he still found himself in the end zone. But at this point, I have to look at the coaching staff, and it lies with Dennis Allen at this point, because it's on him to manage the clock. It's on him to make these personnel decisions. And ultimately, it's on him to make sure that in these close marginal games right here, that he pulls through, because that's what separates well-coached teams and poorly coached teams, is winning these small games. And Alvin Kamara said it today. You can go check out the NOF network, and they got a full interview in the locker room where Alvin Kamara was spitting. Honestly, he was saying exactly how he feels about all these losses. And you look at the end of the year, and you look at good teams in the playoffs, you look at teams that didn't make the cut, and you look at games just like last week and just like this past week against the Eagles, and this past weekend against the Atlanta Falcons. These are the type of games that you leave on the board. They're close, and if they're just put together right, if everybody just sticks to their job at the end of the game, New Orleans Saints coaching staff, then that's where you find out who's good. Not the blowouts. It's the close games. That's where you find out who's a good football team. And I tell you what, the Saints are 2-2, and Dennis Allen is 4-6 all time with the Saints in terms of it being a 3-point game. So in games where it's within 3 points, with the Saints, Dennis Allen's 4-6. And I think that goes down to his coaching decisions. Paulson Adebo. I'm going to defend my guy first off. So look, all love to Olante Taylor, my bad. But Paulson Adebo, look, definitely a tough PI. I don't like that. That was rough. He kind of got torched, and I think Adebo kind of gets, that's not the first time he's been torched in a late game situation. I get really nervous when this Saints defense has to step up in these late game situations. We saw it against Philadelphia with the big, Dallas run with Goddard, and then we saw it this past week where a PI call, and in today's league in 2024, a 58-yard field goal, especially from one of the best kickers in the league, Younghoe Koo, he's going to hit that 9 times out of 10. And guess what? It came down to that. Kirk wasn't really hitting his targets. It came down to a PI call and ultimately a 58-yard field goal to end it and to, break Hudat's hearts in Atlanta. But are we going to sit here and blame Adebo? He had 10 tackles and he created that interception. One of what could have been, I guess even in the L, it still was a game-defining turnover. Just especially that being in Atlanta to really shut the crowd noise up and to try to get the Saints an opportunity in decent field position to get the football over the end zone, right? Get the football in the end zone. So without Paulson Adebo being there in these tackles, what is he at 10? I'm going to make sure look. 10 tackles, 2 assist tackles, and an interception. Led the team in tackles. Right below him was Alante Taylor with 4 tackles. You know who was last in terms of the top 3 CBs? Marshawn Lattimore, who had 3 tackles and 2 assists. But I don't see any deflections. He might have 1 deflection on here. No interceptions, obviously. So look, Paulson Adebo created that turnover, and he's continuing to put himself in positions to be a ball hawk for this defense. So I'm not trade Paulson Adebo. He's a young player. But once again, it's going to be on this coaching staff to get in his ass to correct this shit. And look, he's got a lot of potential. He's still young. He sat that COVID year in college. So, I mean, I understand he had a lot of college games under his belt before that, but still, he sat that COVID year. And ever since then, I mean, last year he was one of the most underrated DBs in the league. So I think he's got to settle down a little bit. And look, he's got to play Paulson Adebo football. And what I know Paulson Adebo for, and that as being a ball hawk, and that's being a guy that's executing on his tackles. And it also needs to be somebody that's not jumping the gun a little bit too early and giving up something over the top, let alone in a game-winning situation. If it's burnt, give that receiver an opportunity to make a catch. Don't make the decision for the reps and give him a PI call. Don't even leave it up to be a decision, especially if you're wearing a New Orleans Saints uniform. Maybe the older players will know, but don't even give them a chance to sway the turnout of this game. Control everything you can control. And defensively, it really was the same thing, I guess, that continues to kill us, and that's these gashing runs up the middle. It's what Philly did to us with Saquon Barkley last week, and then this past Sunday with Atlanta, right? Same thing, but you know who it was? Tyler Algier. Power runner up the gut, 8 rushes. He was averaging about 7.5 yards a carry, and he finished with about 60 yards on the ground against that Saints front seven. So I think their secondary, outside of that Paulson Adebo play, they're continuing to be there. Tyrann Mathieu is continuing to be there. And Demario Davis, him not being on the field, and we all know how much of a difference maker he is as a player, but also from a leadership perspective, that defense is better with him on the field, just like how I like at it with Taysom Hill, right, as a leader with the offense. Even him just being out there and healthy is going to be great energy for that offense. Same thing with Demario and Tyrann Mathieu on the defensive side of the ball. You know, I used to say that about Lattimore, but like he's missed a lot of games, and that's where we've seen Tyrann step up, and that's where we've seen Demario continue to just get better and better every week. So him not being there, I think, was a huge factor in why they gave up so much on the ground, but also trying to get everybody on the same page. Easier said than done, and Demario not being there. This already questionable coaching staff not having that player buffer on the field, that hurt him big. Eric McCoy, now Demario Davis, it's looking rough. They're going to have some players really step up, or that coaching staff's going to have to do their damn job. And looking ahead, I'm not sure what the injury report's going to look like. You're looking at a long week, Monday night primetime game in Kansas City, in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are undefeated. They almost gave up one against the Chargers this past week. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think this is one the Saints could win. I definitely see this. It could be 2-3. You know, I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm also not shocked if the Saints show up in prime time. They got a lot of players that have been there before. Tyrann Mathieu is going home. This man won a Super Bowl ring with Kansas City, so he's going home to Kansas. Well, not home, but he's returning to Kansas City, man, with his hometown team. You don't think he's going to want to run amok? That defense is going to do what they do best, and I'm going to say the same thing like I said the last 2 weeks. The defense is going to show up. They're going to show up. But at the end of the day, the offense cannot fumble the bag, and I guess at this point, the Saints cannot shoot themselves in the foot, Cheddar Bob style, and give a free 14 points to the opposing team. You're going to lose in those situations 10 times out of 10. They got to come out Arrowhead. They got to take care of the football, and I think Patrick Mahomes might make a couple mistakes if they can pressure him early. They definitely have the speed to go over the top of Paulson Adebo, especially with Xavier Worthy. And I know, look, like I wish a speedy recovery to Rashee Rice, but I'm not so sure about the receiving core in general. So if they can maybe get some pressure to Patrick Mahomes, maybe we can create a turnover. This is a defense that continues to do that every single week. But is that offense able to score on what was a number 2 defense last year? And the Super Bowl champions, Dennis Allen is seriously looking at 2-3 in the face, and he's going to have to rally that team. And whether, you know, depending who's healthy, who's not healthy, AK sit in the locker room, everybody's hurting with something. They're going to have to rally behind somebody, and collectively come together and realize if we don't march into Arrowhead and upset the defending world champions, we're looking at 2-3. And is that who they want to be? Now is where we find the identity of every NFL team right now. Between now and I would say early November, not even early November, I would say late October, the next 3 or 4 weeks leading into the bye and leading into the trade deadline, we're going to really find out what these teams are made of. And right now, when it comes to winning in these tight situations, the Saints are looking so good. But I appreciate you guys in the comments. Let me know exactly your thoughts. Who's to blame for the last 2 games, right? Where do we go from here? What do the Saints look like between now and that Super Bowl taking place in New Orleans in February? And do the Saints possibly have it in them to make a push to the playoffs or maybe even something bigger? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoying the content, hit that like, hit the subscribe button. Baby, I got y'all covered all season long. Check out the link in the bio, www.thegaminggrunt.me. Daily content on Facebook, daily content on TikTok. I appreciate you guys. Stay safe. Be kind to one another. And as always, come on, baby, 2-2. I still believe in this New Orleans Saints. Believe it.